Tales of Jack and Millie, written and produced by Brightman, narrated by Stefan Gannon, featuring Dr. Esslin Terrighena as Millie, Gary Brightman as Jack, Stef Gall as Eeva, and Cary Nicholson as O'Malley. Episode 2. What's in a Name? Tales of Jack and Millie is about the adventures of 4 rescued pets that live with their human parents on a beautiful green hilly island in the South China Sea. If only our pets had voices, what would they say? Would they be poets, rappers, or philosophers? Or just family? O'Malley is laying asleep in a garden 4 houses down from his home, having eaten the contents of Bill the cat's dish, which had been left out for him only 1 hour before. He hears the dinner gong being sounded at home, gets up slowly and stretches purposefully forward on his front paws. He'd conserved so much energy as a 1-year-old cat that at least one dog in the household would regret his coming home. As usual, he climbed up a tree overlooking the back of his garden and then dropped onto the wall and walked nonchalantly along it, mewing his head off to announce his victorious return. As he jumped down into the garden, he startled Jack, who was trying to relocate a mosquito which had recently flown above him.
Where have you been?
I've been doing some gardening for Miss Lowe. You know, our neighbour.
What's gardening?
Why are you eating that plant, Jack?
You weirdo.
O'Malley walks underneath Jack and stares up unblinkingly at him. Although they are both pale brown with white markings and pink nose and paws, they are worlds apart. In fact, truth be told, O'Malley somewhat unnerves Jack. He used to like the idea of cats until he got up close and personal with them.
It's where you scratch on soil and then pee. You know, like on a plant?
Millie and Eeva get up from their slumber and trot to the front of the garden where Jack and O'Malley are.
Why do you always run away on your own, O'Malley? Why can't you stay at home like we do until Mum and Dad take us for a walk?
I'm a free spirit. I come and go as I please. Besides, I have to check on the neighborhood. There's bats and dragons and lots of crazy, dangerous stuff happening out there, you know. I'm your early warning system.
Oh, really? So, like what, then?
Well, there are some men burning the evidence of a murder in a garden 2 doors down. I think it's actually Mrs. Lowe's house. And then towards the garbage area, they're creating a zoo out of metal and rock.
That is a new house, you idiot.
Wait! What murder?
Well, I heard a scream one night, and I crept over to investigate. I heard a gunshot and then a bang. I think a human actually hit the floor.
You do know it was the 2nd day of Chinese New Year, right? And the humans let off firecrackers and bang drums?
O'Malley jumps forward with his front paws apart and tries to grab Millie around the neck. Millie bows her head and O'Malley misses and rolls onto the ground, getting up as if nothing had happened.
You are always so naive, O'Malley.
Not wishing to witness another crime scene, Jack changes the subject.
Why did they call you O'Malley? Seems a complicated name. Are you from Ireland or something?
O'Malley sits down and licks his back paw.
I heard it was after Thomas O'Malley in that film Aristocats.
O'Malley rocks back on his butt and falls backwards and quickly gets up without acknowledging it. He stands in front of the 3 dogs and bows.
I'm Abraham de Lacy, Giuseppe Casey, Thomas O'Malley, O'Malley the alley cat. At your service.
We'll just call you Cat then.
So why are you called Jack then, and not just Dog?
Because there's 3 of us dogs and only 1 cat. By the way, our humans call him Jack Rabbit, as apparently his ears grew first, and he had a little white fluffy tail like a rabbit.
Enough, Millicent.
Our humans picked me up from pet rescue on Christmas Eve, so I became Eeva. Actually, thinking about it, just as well it wasn't Halloween. Too much of a mouthful.
Did you know the Latin name for dog is Canis lupus familiaris, as a dog is technically a domesticated wolf? And Fido, which like all dogs are called, is Latin for faithful.
Jack is standing on his back paws and leaning on a tree, looking up for birds again.
How very interesting, Millie. I'm speechless.
If only your name in Latin might be something like Jackus rabbitus.
And clearly Eva's name would be Evie Annoyus.
And yours, Millie?
There's no translation for Millicent, but if I were to name myself, obviously I'd be Lara Croft, Tomb Raider.
Our humans also call me Bob, after Bob Marley and the Wailers. You know, I like to harmonize.
Oh, is that what you call it? Honestly, it's a wonder we're not all deaf.
In this series, we will feature one of Aesop's fables in each episode. Aesop was a Greek storyteller. Aesop's fables usually involve animals and take the form of very short stories which convey a clear moral. Jack and Millie would go hiking every Saturday along the hills of the island with their mum. After a long walk on the way back, Jack was both hungry and in a particularly cheeky mood. As they got near to the wet food market, he distracted Millie.
Hey, isn't that O'Malley in that restaurant? Eating fish soup with the stray cats?
He darted into the market and trotted up to the meat stall and put his paws up on the counter. The butcher's wife tried to shoo him away, but the butcher was more charmed by him and offered him a juicy meat bone.
Wow, that's never happened before.
Catching up to a worried Millie,
You're so naughty, Jack. If a human sees that, she's gonna go wild.
they caught up with their mum, and Jack hung back, trying not to be noticed. As they crossed the narrow bridge over the Silver River, Jack looked down and saw his own reflection. He thought to himself that there was a dog in the river with a bigger bone in his mouth. If he had stopped to think, he would have known better. But instead of thinking, he dropped his bone and sprang at the dog in the river, only to find himself swimming for dear life to reach the shore.
What on earth are you doing, Jack?
At last, he managed to scramble out. And as he stood sadly thinking about the good bone he had lost, he realized what a stupid dog he had been.
You could have drowned in there, you muppet. What were you thinking?
A bone for main course and another bone for dessert would have gone down nicely.
So there you have it. The Aesop's fable of the dog and his reflection. There is a lesson to be learned from this fable. The moral of this story is that greed can lead to costly, foolish behaviour. When they arrived back home, O'Malley was also on his way back home, walking along the top of the garden wall, meowing as usual.
Hey, why are you all wet? Jack, did you fall off your surfboard again?
We've been walking in the hills.
Oh, Jack, I thought you were going wakeboarding.
Maybe Jack's not the only one with water in his ears.
I have no fears.
No, of course you don't.
The pets in Tales of Jack and Millie were adopted from Tales, Team for Animals in Lantau South, a Hong Kong registered charity. For further information, you can visit their website at taleslantau.org or Facebook at Tales Lantau or Instagram at tales.lantau. These stories, of which this is the second in the series, are about 3 dogs and a cat. They had nothing going for them and no hope for a secure and happy future until they were given a home by a human family.